develop your skills with unlimited access to Red Hat online learning.
So today we're going to be talking about one of the products that the Red Hat Training and Certification team offers, which is our Red Hat Learning subscription. So first, a little bit of background or kind of a high-level overview of Red Hat Training, kind of what makes it special. Unlike a lot of other Linux-focused training that's out there, our training is job role and solution focused. So everything that we design is going to be with not just spinning up an environment in mind, but actually day-to-day job functions are kind of packed into the curriculum that our team is designing. So our curriculum team works hand in hand with our support organizations, with our engineering organizations, with the upstream community to make sure that all of the training that we want to design, we want to be especially targeted to people who are actually going to be using this day in, day out. And then obviously there is a huge reinforcement of those concepts by hands-on labs. So what we mean there is that the bulk of the training that you're going to be doing is going to be a mix between lecture-based learning and actual hands-on practical application of that learning. So, our rule of thumb really from a curriculum point of view is that you are within a lab environment between 60 and 70% of the time that you're actually in one of our courses. So, typically there will be a concept that's introduced, maybe that's 15, 20 minutes of reading or lecture-based delivery. And then you're immediately going to be in a lab environment kind of reinforcing exactly what it is that you've just learned. So, no matter how you go about training with Red Hat, that philosophy and that practice is going to be maintained throughout. So whether you are in a public classroom or a virtual classroom, which is going to be delivered by one of our in-person instructors, we offer that, and it's a private group training as well. So if you have a team of 6 or more people, we'll bring an instructor to your facility to actually do that as well. One of the nice things that we're going to be talking about today is if you don't have the time to do an in-person or virtual instructor-led course, or if you're interested in more than one technology, so we have something called the Red Hat Learning subscription that we're going to get into in a little bit, and I'm going to demo for you guys today. That really gives you an added value. It gives you access to our entire suite of over 50 different courses and access to our certifications as well, which are certainly best in class as far as certifications go. So here's some of the things that the learner subscription includes. So it is a per student subscription, gives you a full year of access to all of our courses, 400 hours of lab time, which is, in my experience, more than enough access to our labs. And again, these are fully realized RHEL VMs that are running, depending on whatever course you're in, that full version of the product. So we're going to actually be doing a demo of one of our Ansible courses a little later on. This is a full internet connected system. So, a lot of our customers sometimes with the learning subscription are actually kind of speccing out different products to see if it's something that they could actually work out and apply into their own use cases. Some people are using it to actually test systems or test environments before deploying into their own production environments. A lot of our courses come in a couple modalities or ways to train. We have, for most of our courses, what we would call role-based or Red Hat Online Learning based. They're essentially HTML5 versions of the textbook with the lab, obviously, as well. And then we have a video classroom version, which is where we've actually taken one of our instructors and had them record the entire course. And they're jumping in and out of the lab environment. They're stepping back to a whiteboard to kind of break down some of the harder concepts. That is not available for all of our courses, but it is available for most of our courses. And then the nice thing is, just like our technology is ever being updated, so too is our curriculum. Like I said before, our curriculum team is working with our engineering teams, hand in hand to make sure that whenever significant minor or definitely major versions of our software is being released, that our training is being updated in tandem with that. So not only will, as courses are updated, they are automatically added to the learning subscription, we actually have the ability for early access to some of these courses as well. So in the coming months, you'll see some RHEL 8 content come out before RHEL 8 is actually released. Same thing down the road for something like OpenShift 4. We'll see content start to kind of trickle into the learning subscription before it's available to the masses. So our learning subscription is broken into 2 different tiers. We have basic and standard, and then we've actually offer now a 3rd tier, which is a developer-centric curriculum, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. We're going to be demoing the standard tier today. The standard tier includes access to 5 exam vouchers. Those are unique exams, so you can take 5 different course exams, and then access to 2 retakes as well. You also get access to our instructors, which is something that a lot of our customers really take advantage of. Obviously, this is going to be a self-paced environment, but having access to our instructors for anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours, it's unlimited as far as how many times you can get access to those instructors to walk through, whether it's a specific topic that you just want more information about, or if it's something that you're not quite getting, if the results that you're getting in your lab environment are a little different than what you had expected. Those are all great use cases to speak to an instructor about. And then we do offer an enterprise solution as well, which is 100 individual licenses all bundled into one. That's something that you can definitely speak to your GK rep about. It's a huge value if you have anywhere between 30 or more people that are interested in the learning subscription. It really makes sense to go towards something like our enterprise solution. So I think the best way to actually go through this is to jump into a demo. So I'm going to back out of the presentation real quick, and I've got the demo already loaded up. So when you log into the learning subscription, the first thing that you're going to see is this landing page. A couple things I'm going to point out that are pretty obvious. One, in the top right corner, you're going to see how many days you have left in your subscription. Again, this is a 365-day subscription that you have access to. And we really want it to be apparent where you are in that subscription. That's something that GK or the Red Hat team can work with you kind of in tandem to make sure that you're actually getting the value out of the subscription, because the most important thing for us is that you are taking advantage of the access that you have. A lot of the success that we see within the learning subscription is based on setting goals throughout that full year. Some people want to make sure that they get certified as a system administrator, and then want to move towards becoming a certified engineer, and then maybe a certification in Ansible and satellite. Those are things where we want it to be really, really apparent where you are in that year, so that you can really set benchmarks for yourself throughout. So a lot of the time that you're going to be spending whenever you get here is going to be going through this main page. And I'm just going to do a quick scroll. You're going to see some kind of hot links to some of the things that we're going to go through in just a little bit. We've actually broken down our curriculum into learning paths. So you're going to see that at the very, very top. We're going to go through some of these learning paths in just a little bit, but essentially it's curriculum that is either designed around a specific topic or maybe a specific job role. Sometimes it's going to be, there's going to be learning paths that are similar, but based on your skill level. So you can see this very first one, advanced system administration skills. This is obviously assuming that you have some RHEL experience. Obviously, we have something that's going to be targeted towards kind of a beginner system admin, somebody who's aspiring to be a sysadmin as well. Below that, you're going to see a list of your courses. And these are courses that you've clicked into. So here you can see, because it's a demo account, my courses has 52. Maybe for you, that's 3 or 4. This is also going to include access to our expert seminars, which I haven't even spoken about yet. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. It's one of the better features, I think, of the standard subscription. So let's just jump into this first tab, which is the courses. So we talked a little bit about what my courses looks like. I'm going to jump into the catalog just so you can see the sheer number of courses that we do offer. And this is going to include all of our learning subscription, all of our learning paths as well. So you can see anything here that has a little road icon, that's one of the learning paths. And then you're gonna see some courses. This icon right here is a virtual class. That's to mean it's a video classroom. So at the end of every course, you're gonna see a course code. And these are course codes that you can look on, the GK website or Red Hat's website to get some more information about that specific course. If I click into it, you're going to get a nice description of what the course is, which technology it's going to be based on. And you're going to see objectives based on that course. So these are what you will be achieving throughout the life of this course. This course specifically is all based on Ansible for network automation. So this is deploying Ansible from the perspective of a network administrator or network engineer. And then below that, you'll see kind of who the course is intended for. What is the audience for this course? And ultimately, you'll see prerequisites for the course. So some of our courses recommend that you have Linux experience. Some say that you need to have Ansible experience. Some will say you need to have taken a different course before entering into that course. So always be aware and cognizant of the prerequisites for a course before jumping into it. I'm going to jump back into the catalog. We'll just do a search for our basic Ansible course. That's DO 407. And you're going to see that there are two different modalities. I mentioned this before. The course code for the first one is DO 407R. That's our role-based or text-based course. And the DO 407 VC is our video classroom. And we're going to jump into one of these courses in just a little bit. Before we do that, I wanted to jump into the learning paths. And here you can see we have about 18 different learning paths. Some of them are going to be based around specific goals. So for instance, a Red Hat Certified Architect is a certification benchmark. Essentially, it means that you have 5 certifications on top of our Certified Engineer. It's a very, very difficult kind of elite club to be a part of. Some of them are going to be a little more role-based than that. So for instance, systems automation. This is going to be a learning path that is tailored all around our automation courses. So the first one it's going to start you with or suggest is that you maybe go through our configuration management with Puppet course. And then it will let you know if there's an associated exam with that as well. And then the next course we see here is automation with Ansible 1, which is our DO 407 course. And then there's an associated exam with that. And that's immediately followed by automation with Ansible 2, which focuses just on the Ansible Tower. And then we have our satellite course, the satellite exam. We have an IDM course that's tied to our Red Hat security curriculum and an exam tied to that. And then finally, our Ansible for network automation. So these are all courses within a specific curriculum that kind of lay out a path to becoming, in this case, a systems automation kind of guru. And a few others I'll point out. If you are new to Linux, you may want to search for the RHCSA. That's sort of our very base level certification. So that's the Red Hat Certified System Administrator. And you'll see that there are 2 different paths here as far as the RHCSA goes. There's new to Linux and experienced Linux administrator. We have curriculum that's kind of designed for both of those paths. So anyone who's new to Linux, we'll want them to kind of go through the slower paced courses. And then we actually have a fast track for our experienced Linux administrators as well. A couple other features I want to point out before we jump into the actual lab environment. Expert seminars are something that are unique to our standard subscription. These are essentially, think of them sort of like TED Talks for training. They're really hot button issues within our industry, but typically there's something that don't necessarily fit into one of our courses, or there just isn't enough content to generate an entire course around it. And then the other reason we might have one of these is in the instance of how our technology might relate to something else that's really popular out there. So, one thing that has been very, very popular in the last probably 6 months is Istio microservices architecture. So that's something that obviously is not a Red Hat product, but it's something that plays with our products, whether it's OpenShift or JBoss, 3Scale. These are all things that Istio kind of ties to, and generally microservices ties to. So these expert seminars are delivered by our trainers. They're typically somewhere between an hour and 3 hours of just sort of a lecture style. There's no lab aspect to it, but they're really, really interesting as far as kind of increasing your knowledge on a topic outside of what you might get within one of our courses. And a lot of those there. I mentioned this before. Early access is something that we really, really kind of pride ourselves around from a curriculum perspective. You'll see here we have 2 courses that are in early access right now. One of which, the first one, DO 180 EA meaning early access, is a course that we already have released. So this is the Introduction to Containers, Kubernetes, and Red Hat OpenShift. This is our intro to OpenShift course, and this is now being updated to the latest version of OpenShift that we ship. And so if you look into here, we can launch this course, and we'll actually see a full table of contents of what is available as of right now. So right now, just a couple chapters, but the nice thing is this gives you a direct line to our curriculum team. So you can look through, there's a full lab environment that's going to be accessible to you, and we're going to go through that in just a little bit. This allows you to actually deliver live feedback to our instructor, to our curriculum team. If there's something that's missing, obviously, think of this as beta. So, in some senses, if you see typos or if a lab's not working or something like that, you can always deliver that feedback. But what they really want to hear about is, if there's something that is missing, if there's some content that you feel should be there that isn't. Again, you have access to the table of contents. As it kind of trickles out, more and more will be added as far as the content goes. You have a nice outline of what the course is going to look like. We really, really value the feedback that we get from our customer base because, obviously we're designing this architecture or this curriculum to really complement and, hone in and enhance the skills of youth. So, any kind of feedback that you can deliver to us, we really, really appreciate. And then the other course that was in here in the early access is actually a course that hasn't come out yet. This is our Red Hat Security Containers course. We're really, really excited about that. We have a lot of curriculum that's coming out in our Red Hat Security kind of family of training. And you can see here that there's a lot more content that has come out for this course. And this is just getting added all the time. This is a course that we plan on having be generally available probably towards the end of February. So look out for this in probably the next 4 or 5 weeks or so. But up until that point, when it does GA, you're going to see more and more of the content that will be in that final finished product trickle out into this early access. So that's something that you can kind of jump into, and you get a more than a sneak peek because it's all basically fully developed at this point. So you can get access to this before anyone would be able to within a classroom. So we're going to jump back into one of these courses. I want to show you what one of the courses looks like from the role-based version and the video classroom. So again, we're going to look at DO 407. And we'll start out with the role-based version. So I'm going to come here and we're going to launch it. And a couple things before we do go through. On the right side here, you can see some details of the course as far as what your progress is. The status is going to be incomplete until you achieve 90%. And what 90% really means is that you've gone to 90% of the different pages within the course book. And you'll see that progress is reflected at the bottom. When you do get to 90%, you get a certificate of completion. That's always something that you can kind of provide to your management. Or if you're like me, I print them out and put them on my refrigerator all the time. So let's actually jump into the course. And anytime you open up, you're going to see a browser test. There are a couple things I want to point out. We typically say, Chrome, Firefox, anytime that you're running one of those browsers, you're going to be fully supported there. We'll go ahead and hit continue on this. Let it load for a second. And there we go. So this is, again, just the full version of the course. Looking through here, this is the table of contents, and these are all hyperlinks that will take me to a specific section within a chapter. So we're going to just jump into chapter 3, kind of the beginning of the meat of the course. Here on this tab right here, you can see the online lab. I've gone ahead and started it. You can see these are all virtual machines that you have access to. We host them. There's nothing that you need to have hosted on your own systems. Really, the only thing that you need is a decent internet connection, because obviously you're going to be remotely connecting to these through your browser. So make sure you do have a decent internet connection. A couple other things I'll point out on before we jump into what one of the courses looks like. This big blue box here where it says version, you actually have access to go back to older versions of the course. Typically, when you see the version number, that is what version of the software it's running on. So, right now, this course is running on Ansible 2.7, which is the latest that we ship. But, if you wanted to, you could jump back to the curriculum as it was presented when it was running on Ansible 2.3, if maybe that's what closer to what you're running in your own environment. This little arrow pointing down, that's how you can download the student guide. So the student guide, again, is just this textbook. You can download it as a PDF. You have access to download that in 10 different courses. So we highly encourage you, if you want to do some studying offline, or if you just want to retain it for later on after you no longer have access. You can always kind of bookmark or star a page as well. You have access to those bookmarks later on. So if there's a specific chapter that maybe you're not getting, or something that you just know that you're going to want to refer to later, you can always check that little bookmark there. We have our course settings there, and obviously if you need some help, you can download the FAQ there too. But let's actually roll through one of these pages within the course right now. So this is chapter 3. So again, I'm not expecting any of you to necessarily know what's going on here. I just want to give you kind of an idea of what one of these courses, how it's laid out. So at the beginning of every course, every chapter, I should say, you're going to be given a goal, the objectives, sort of what the chapter's objectives are, the sections within the chapter. So you're going to see that writing and running playbooks, and then there will be an associated guided exercise, implementing multiple plays, and then an associated guided exercise. And at the end of the chapter, we're going to have a lab implementing playbooks. The way that Red Hat structures our training, and I think I touched on this a little bit before, every section that we introduce is going to immediately have some kind of learning validation immediately behind that. So this part of the chapter is all about writing and running playbooks. So you can see here we have a couple of videos that are embedded. These are going to be delivered by one of our instructors, but most of the content is going to be pretty reading intensive. So all of this is about implementing playbooks. This is sort of the structure of tasks, if you're not familiar with Ansible, and then how to run those playbooks. And then when we get to the very end, you'll see some references that's typically at the bottom of every chapter, or every section within every chapter. It gives you a link to documentation. Really, really good for referencing later on, especially if you're interested in taking the certification exam. We do provide documentation, so this is really, really helpful from whenever you're preparing for your exam to make sure you're going to be successful in taking that exam. So once you finish that section, you move into the next part, and we have our guided exercise. In every exercise, whether it's guided or one of our labs, which is unguided or where the training wheels come off, you're going to be given a list of outcomes. So in this case, it's a bunch of things that we're going to want to achieve. And that's basically what this entire chunk that I'm highlighting is. And our lab environment, again, it's just a RHEL environment, has a lab script that you run to set up the environment for you. So, sometimes that's installing specific files or making sure that specific virtual machines are up and running and accessible. Essentially, it's just making sure the environment is configured in a way that it needs to be so that you can start going with the exercise. And that contrasts a little bit with the labs, the end of chapter labs. So let me jump back here real quick. I'll jump the gun. So going through this guided exercise, you're going to see that every step is going to be documented exactly what you need to do. It'll tell you exactly what steps you need to take. So in this case, you're using a text editor to create a new playbook, and it tells you exactly what you need to write in that playbook. So every step, again, this is a guided exercise. This is meant to really reinforce what you just learned. And there will be a few sections throughout the chapter, and then at the end will be kind of a comprehensive review, a lab that's based on all the different pieces that were presented in that chapter. And this is unguided. So we actually have obscured the solution for you. We break down the steps that you would need to take, but the solutions or the commands that you need to run to achieve those steps are going to be hidden from you. Obviously, if you run into any issues, you can just click on this blue or green show solution, and it tells you exactly what command you need to run to do so. And then at the end, you'll have another script that you can run to actually grade your progress. So this is especially helpful just to really validate that you've understood the concepts that were presented in that chapter. And then again, especially if certification is something that you're interested in, these are going to be the closest things to our certification exams. The certification exams are 100% practical exams. So you're going to be dropped into an environment and expected to configure it in a certain way. And there's no multiple choice questions or anything like that. This is going to be the closest to that experience, making sure that you actually can configure whatever technology you're interested in. So that's the role-based version. I'm going to back out real quick. And we'll go into the video classroom next.
So John, as you're kind of loading that, we had a question asking if any of these courses are live, or if they're all video based and take
So
on
they're
your own
all
time.
going to be, yes, they're all going to be self-paced. That's the, I guess would say, the double-edged sword as far as the learning subscription goes. If you are somebody who definitely needs or has the benefit of having that live instructor feedback while you're doing your learning, then the learning subscription may not be for you. But again, you do have access to the instructor outside of during scheduled office hours. But in the moment, all of this is either going to be text-based or video-based, but not in a live setting. Great question, though. So here is the video classroom based. You'll see whenever you connect, it asks if you want to continue from where you last left off. We'll just say yes. And to anyone that's familiar with a video player, which in the age of YouTube, I hope everyone that's connected is. I guess you guys are in video players right now. You see, this is Susan Lauber. She is one of our instructors. So she's just doing an introduction to the course right now. I'll jump into, and you'll see that the course is structured a little differently. The content is exactly the same, but here you'll see that the course is actually laid into days in the same way that would be in a live delivery. So we'll jump into chapter 3, which is where we were before. And you'll see that this is a video player. There's a transcript there on the right if you want to follow along. You again have access to the course book up here in the top right to download the student guide again. The little beaker to its left is how you enter into the lab environment. This is a nice kind of middle ground between our text-based and our live in-person instructor-led deliveries, because it is instructor-led, it's just not live in the moment. But again, I can't harp enough about the instructor office hours. They've really helped me out as far as if I haven't understood a concept, being able to actually speak with them for an hour or so on something to really reinforce what it is that I've just learned. And again, you have your bookmarking feature. You can search through this in the same way that you could in the previous course. So if I wanted to look up dynamic inventory, which is something that's a part of Ansible, I can search through that and it will give me all the different times of the day. And of course, I picked a term that's pretty popular through, so you can see it picks out a lot. And I can just jump into that part of the video if I want to be refreshed on it. So this is a really nice option for those who really like that more lecture-based style, that the reading intensive part is not going to be as effective of a learning style for them. And again, you'll see that occasionally Susan is going through the course book and kind of lecturing. She'll switch to her virtual machine so that she's actually going through examples. And occasionally there's a whiteboard that you can't see because the course book's up there, but sometimes she'll go and kind of whiteboard a concept. If, maybe it's about like network topography or something like that. So let's jump out of the video classroom. A few more things that I wanted to point out. We've just recently actually launched our Red Hat Learning Community. This is a free community that's filled with, our instructor pool. Red Hat professionals, people like me, are participating in here. Some others, a lot of students are participating in this community. This is really just a place to ask questions, to share your different learning styles or experiences, to deliver your own feedback. If there are topics that you're interested in that you see we're not covering, it's really, really fantastic. It's something that we've only just recently launched in the last few months and has gotten a lot of tremendous feedback. So we really, really highly encourage that, no matter how you go through learning, whether it's through the learning subscription or through some of our on-site deliveries or a video training, that you participate in the community, because it's just been really tremendous having some of our instructors get to speak with our students outside the classroom. A couple other things I want to point out in the subscription, and then we'll get to our questions. Within the help tab, you're going to have the ability to contact our support team. Our support organization that handles our standard customer issues are also the ones that manage issues with the lab. So obviously, we'd like to say that you'll never ever run into any issues in any of our Red Hat technologies, but we know that's just not the case. So if you do run into any issues, you can open up a support ticket. You can always reach out to the Red Hat training team as well. We can kind of expedite that. The talk to an instructor box, that is where, I've said it 100 times now, you can actually schedule your office hours. So if there's a specific course or courses that you're interested in, you can let them know about that. I do it a lot of the times when I am working in the lab environment and I run that lab script and I see, a few successes and maybe a fail. And I'll do it again and I see that same fail. I'll immediately open up an appointment with one of our instructors so I can really get an idea of why I'm not achieving why I think I'm achieving it. And again, that's anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours. We do typically ask that you request 3 days out, although we're usually pretty good about accommodating less than 3 days as well. And then existing appointments, you can manage any of the existing appointments you've already made. with one of our instructors. And then there are reports that you can generate, whether for yourself or for your manager. Things such as your progress report, so you can see where you are within each of the courses. If you have the standard subscription, you can run a report to see which exams you've enrolled in, when you took them, how many exam attempts you have left. And this is something that a lot of the times is really beneficial for the learner and for their management if they need to provide a status update as far as which classes they've taken, how far along they are, that kind of thing. And that is it for the demo. If you guys have any other questions about the actual pricing or for more information about the learner subscription, I know that Global Knowledge has all of that information listed on their website. I think Sarah's going to touch on that a little bit later on. If you are interested in like a private demo or something like that, reach out to them or to my team, and we can always do that for you and your organization as well. And as far as the last thing I wanted to touch on, our newly launched Red Hat Learning subscription for developers. So this is a flavor of the learning subscription that essentially takes just our developer-focused content. So that's about 15 courses right now. We're adding a few more in the next month. So it is at a lower cost to you. So if you're not interested in the 55 courses, a lot of which might be engineering or administration operations focused, these are all courses that are going to be based around developing microservices in OpenShift or managing APIs with 3-scale. A lot of our JBoss content is in there, so things around Fuse. Those are the kind of courses that our developer-focused students typically really enjoy going through a self-paced. They don't have time to sit through a 4 or 5 day in-person delivery. The learning subscription is something that we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback about from the developer community specifically. So that's something that is relatively new, just launched in the last month or so. And so if you have any questions about that, please reach out to your GK rep or jump into our website. We've got a lot of great information and a lot of stuff coming down the road on that.
First one I have here is, what's the difference between OpenShift and OpenStack?
OpenStack is our infrastructure as a service, so think of it as your cloud, whereas OpenShift is our container platform. So when you're deploying applications and managing them, that's what you're using OpenShift for. OpenStack is really for managing resources. So you're managing your cloud's compute or storage, networking resources. So we've got a lot of really great content on the OpenShift side for administrators, so people who are managing the OpenShift container platform, and for developers who are developing like containerizing applications, using the OpenShift runtimes to deploy microservices. And then on the OpenStack side, excuse me, it's all pretty heavily focused around the administration side. So, managing compute resources or deploying software-defined networking or NFV, a lot of content around that as well. Great question.
Okay, and then what's the estimated hours of material in the annual subscription?
Ooh, that's a tough question. So most of our courses are between a traditional delivery between 3 and 5 days. So let's just say 4 days. And there's about 55 courses. So that's what, 200 plus days of content. And that's like a 7-hour day. So, 1,400 hours. It's probably safe to say it's unreasonable to expect that anybody's going to go through all of these courses. But if you're really focused on 1 or 2 different technologies, you can get probably, what would in a normal classroom be 3 or 4 weeks of content out of that. So, maybe that's 150 hours of content right there. Again, the lab access that you have is 400 hours. So, a lot of that time is going to be spent in that lab. I'm in the lab environment. I'm in the learning subscription half of my time at work, and I've never gotten close to the 400 lab hours. But I mean, you can get lost in it. That's for sure.
All right, so I think you were showcasing a course and there were certifications that it went towards. I think you'd said there were 5 certifications. Can you list those, or do you remember what those are?
So we have close to 25 different certifications that are available. I think I was in a learning path before that that had 5 or 6 different courses, and each of those had certifications associated. But for the most part, all of our courses have certifications that are associated with them. Some of the certifications might be based on 2 different courses. So, for instance, we have our OpenShift curriculum. So there's an introductory course, and then there's an OpenShift admin 1 and an OpenShift dev 1 course. The OpenShift admin 1 and dev 1 courses both have certification exams, but the content that's covered is the intro course and then the admin 1 or intro course and dev 1, if that makes sense. So you can find a full catalog list on our website or on the GK website as far as all the certifications that are available. There are a lot of them. And they're also searchable within the learner subscription too. So real quick, I can jump in to the catalog, and I can just search by exam. Individual exam. And these are all the exams that are available to you.
And do these exams need to be completed on site somewhere, or can you do them online?
Awesome question. So they do need to be taken in one of our kiosks. So we have proctors who will kind of observe you. When you go to click on enroll, it redeems a voucher, and you can schedule an exam on a site that's closest to you. We have probably 40 different kiosks across the country, so there should be one that's close to you, but definitely it's something that has to be taken on site in person. You're just going to be in a room with a Red Hat proctor watching you through a webcam.
Okay, so for this platform, is there an app available so that you can access it like on your phone or on tablets?
Unfortunately not. I have heard from some of our customers who have used this on an iPad or an Android tablet. Unfortunately, I think that because you're using the virtual environment so much, that's kind of compute heavy, especially in bandwidth heavy as well. So we definitely recommend that you're using a web browser with a computer or laptop. I wouldn't recommend using and there is no app, unfortunately. It's all going to be web-based.
Okay, and I think the last question I have here is just to clarify whether these courses are developed by Red Hat and hosted by Global Knowledge. So, like, where
They are.
Okay, go ahead.
No. They're going to be developed by Red Hat in the so the content is developed in-house by our curriculum team at Red Hat. They're going to be, as far as the labs and whatnot, are going to be hosted by Red Hat as well. but Global Knowledge is one of our partners, so they work with us a lot to um, help deliver this solution to a lot of our customers. So definitely we work with Global Knowledge hand in hand to kind of get the word out, and a lot of the times as a partner they're able to help with pricing and stuff like that. So we definitely encourage you to work with Global Knowledge if you're not going to go direct with Red Hat.